Hey YouTube, it's JamNJay 23. I know it's been a minute. It's been 2 years going by, but I've been having a lot of things going on and, dealing with real life and stuff like that. But I'm back and I want to get my videos back up and get my discussions going. I understand that, my channel's been staying pretty busy for the past 2 years, and I'm actually surprised, like, the sheer volume of people that actually come into the channel, watch my videos, stuff like that. I try to keep things posted up as often as I can when I can. Um, but yeah, it's a lot of things that's been going on, and I would like to share those. But right now, there's just a little summary video, just giving y'all an update on some of the things going good in life. I was going through a bit of a rough period for the past 5 years. When I had my last video, um, I moved at least I'm gonna say at least maybe like 4 or 5 times after that point. Got a new place now. Living situation's a lot more stable. You know, going through some employment issues and stuff like that, going between jobs. That type of stuff. This is stuff that people deal with on a day-to-day basis out here in the real world, because during this day and age, what I'm saying, it's like it's rough out here, especially for our generation, people that's like in my age group, in 20s, like early 30s, something like that. It's rough out here. And whether you have a high school diploma or associate's degree, bachelor's, master's, or if you haven't exactly finished school yet, it's hard on a lot of people out here. And it don't matter which branch of the spectrum or what path you chose in life. It's rough times. It really is. And the thing I'm gonna say from my own experience, and this is just the dead honest truth, from my experience, just for what I went through just these past 5 years, um, struggle is real. And not only that the struggle is real, but at the same time, what gets you out of the struggle is being persistent and having a plan. If you got a plan, there ain't nothing that you can't do out here. And I'm talking from experience, because I was at a real low point. I mean, it was real. I mean, I might as well just share it. At the time, I was helping out an elderly relative of mine, which actually was my grandfather at the time. Um, Before we actually moved to the apartment that we were at when I was doing my videos, um, we were staying in a really bad neighborhood. And at the time when my grandparents were living in the house, they raised seven beautiful children. They worked hard. My grandmother, she was a nurse. My grandfather, he worked in the steel plants. As far as anything, that was his hustle. He worked 16 hours a day. He did what he had to do, to put food on the table for his family and stuff. My grandmother, she worked hard too, and when, she did what she did to keep the house and stuff like that, it was a family unit thing. And, when you got 7 kids, you got to do what you got to do, sit there and, provide. And that's how it is. Um, and it seems that during this day and age, a lot of people have seemed to lost their way when it comes to that, because those are like the essence values of family structure. And the thing about family structure is, as far as even with couples, I mean, okay, nobody's saying, oh, and by the way, they were married. Um, and I say that, and it doesn't mean that if you're not married that, oh, nothing can work. But the thing is, when you come to like relationships and partnerships, and whoever your significant other is, especially when y'all are living together, working together, or whichever the situation is, it's about teamwork. Excuse me. And again, like I was saying earlier, it's about a plan. If you got a plan, ain't nothing that you can't do in life. You know what I'm saying? So at the end of the day, my grandparents taught me a lot of things. The thing about my mom, and the reason how I ended up in that situation was both my mom and my dad, were addicted to drugs or whatever. At a very young age, I had seen a lot of things and experienced it. And I'll talk about those things later on, because, it's a lot of videos I want to cover. just on life, period, just from my own personal experience, and then ways that I can share my stories and maybe inspire you to either make your own videos or share your stories, or even also maybe to give some advice, you know, for somebody who's actually been there. So, um, by my mom not being able to properly take care of me and stuff like that, I would go to my grandparents. So she would drop me off there anyways, just because the fact that she wanted to go and party, doing her thing. And you know, at the time, when I was growing up, you know, it was a couple houses that I got dropped off to, not just my grandparents' house, but different relatives or friends or whatever. And you know, my mom be gone on days on end. You know what I'm saying, doing her thing that she normally do. My dad at the time, as far as which, mind you, as far as my dad, I don't really know too much about him, other than the early years that I do know. I know that you know he worked on cars and stuff like that, but when he got involved with the drug life and stuff like that, and was also addicted to it, he got involved with you know doing dumb stuff, and in the process of that, you know, I haven't heard from him. You know, I don't know the details, and you know, right now I'm not. I don't want to get too off topic for why I'm making this video, but like I said, I'll explain that in future videos, maybe get a little more insight. But at the end of the day, he was out of the picture. So at the end of the day, it was my mom raising me, and you know, when my dad was missing for like X amount of years, I don't know what happened. Um, my mom was, you know, she did like, mind you, he disappeared at about, me and Wells about like maybe, I think I was maybe like about 2 going on to 3. Because I remember when I was 3 years old, it was just me and my mom staying at this one apartment. And it was decent, but I slept on the couch. I didn't have a bedroom or anything to myself or whatever. But, you know, my mom was going through some things during that time. You know, she was a heavy drinker. You know, she used drugs, and you know, she was a pretty heavy. She was a what I say, she was a heavy smoker. I mean, she smoked, um, and you know, you could tell that you know she'd been through a lot, especially after my dad disappeared. I guess that really took a hard toll on her, and you know, I guess she wanted to escape and you know do parties and stuff like that, and you know, also trying to raise a kid, and I guess it was a bit much, so she would take me to, you know, friends or family's house and drop me off there and, you know, go do her for the next couple of days or however long it took. So, you know, one particular time, well, I won't say one particular time, but at a particular point, when I was about 3, she dropped me off at my grandparents' house, which, mind you, that's my father's parents, the one who had 7 children. My father being of the youngest of the 7. And yeah, like I'm just watching the time because I know I only have up to like 15 minutes per video, at least for right now. But wrapping it up, that's how I end up going to my grandparents because, like I said, she would drop me off at their days on end. And you know, I got to spend time with my grandparents, and you know, my aunts and uncles would come by because that was like the meeting house of everything, you know, for the immediate family. And then at one point, my mom and my dad were staying in the rear cottage of the house. And that house, I'm gonna tell you right now, they don't make a lot of houses like that. And of course, right now in this day and age, this house has been torn down and everything like that. But I mean, it was one of the sweetest houses that I've got to experience in life because it had a front house and a back house. And I always thought that was sweet. It had like a huge backyard. It was like a walkway in the center, and you had this rear cottage, and that's where my mom and dad were staying at one point before I guess she moved to the apartment we moved into. Well, anyways, just staying on track. Um, so yeah, I ended up going to my grandparents' house, and you know, instead of being days on end for my mom being gone, it actually became a couple weeks. She said she was going to be back in a couple days or something like that, and that just was pretty much the run of that. And I guess, you know, my stay actually became longer than what I had thought. And whatever started going on. Okay, I guess after like 2 or 3 weeks after my mom did her thing, then she finally came back, and it was about going time to go home or whatever, or at least go to her house. And my experience with my grandparents was actually a lot more of a stable environment, and it was kind of amazing that at that age, I realized that I wanted to stay with my grandparents. I was able to do a lot more. The house was much bigger. It was actually a house, and it was a lot of places to explore. And I was just so fascinated by that. And I eventually um, said that, yeah, I wanted to move in with my grandparents. And I think I did tell my mom the best way I could at that age that, yeah, I wanted to stay with them. Because my grandparents would come by and visit my mom at her apartment and stuff like that, especially my grandfather, and just check up on her, see how she's doing and stuff like that. And particularly, I said I wanted to go over there. I guess eventually, um, she permitted it, and I eventually started staying over there more. And I guess maybe that that worked out with her too, because it let her do a little bit more things more freely and get herself a little bit more together. And it was actually a good move for me too, because in the following videos that I'm going to eventually talk about, yeah, I'm going to just talk about how this journey actually changed a lot of things and made me who I am today. Um, so at the end of the day, regardless of where you come from in life, everybody's path is important. Even the good, the bad, the ugly, all of our experiences that we go through is actually to make us better, or make us better and more experienced, more aware, and more wise. Um, so, this is just a video that is just a summary of what's to come. I'm glad to be back, and I'm glad to see that my traffic is still up. So at the end of the day, God bless. It's JamNJay 23. Peace out.